You know what I've been seeing in my inbox? Thousands of emails from folks who are confused, frustrated, and frankly getting fed bad information about what's really happening with their Social Security checks right now. So let me cut through the noise and give you the straight truth, because if you're on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or VA benefits, there are real changes that took effect, and you need to understand exactly what they mean for your monthly income. Here's what actually happened. The Social Security Administration implemented a 2.8% cost of living adjustment for 2026. Now, I know that doesn't sound like much, but let me break down the real dollars and cents. If you're receiving Social Security retirement benefits, you're looking at an average increase of about $56 per month. For folks on SSDI, that's Social Security Disability Insurance. The average monthly payment jumped to around $1,630, up $44 from last year. And for those of you on SSI Supplemental Security Income, the maximum federal payment for an individual is now $994 monthly, while couples can receive up to $1,291. Now, here's what bothers me about all this misinformation floating around out there. People are making claims about massive payment increases that simply aren't true, and that gets folks' hopes up only to let them down. The truth is, this 2.8% COLA is designed to help your benefits keep pace with inflation. Nothing more, nothing less. It's not going to solve all your financial problems. But it's not nothing either, and you need to know the facts so you can plan your budget accordingly and make smart decisions with the money you actually have coming in. So let's get into the specifics of what you really need to understand about these changes. You know, I talk to people every single day who are trying to make sense of government announcements and benefit adjustments, and I've learned that there's always more to the story than what you see in the headlines. These adjustments aren't happening in a vacuum, and they're certainly not going to solve all your financial challenges overnight, but they are real. They are happening, and you need to understand exactly how they affect your specific situation so you can plan accordingly. Let me start with Social Security retirement benefits. Almost 71 million Americans are going to see this increase starting in January. And that's a significant number of people. Now, the way this works is pretty straightforward once you understand the mechanics. The Social Security Administration calculates this adjustment based on the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers from the third quarter of the previous year through the third quarter of the current year. What that means in plain English is that they're looking at how much prices have gone up for everyday goods and services, and they're adjusting your benefits to try to keep pace with that inflation. It's not a perfect system, and we'll talk about why in a minute, but that's the basic idea behind it. Here's something that catches a lot of folks off guard, and I want you to really pay attention to this part. The average monthly Social Security check for retirement workers is going up to around $2,071. That sounds great on paper, right? An extra $56 a month. But here's where the rubber meets the road and where most people get frustrated. Medicare Part B premiums are jumping from $185 a month in 2025 to $22.90 in 2026. That's an increase of almost $18. And for most of you, that premium comes right out of your Social Security check automatically. So before you even see that $56 increase, you've got to subtract that Medicare premium increase. Now you're looking at roughly $38 more in your pocket each month, not $56. And that's assuming you don't have any other deductions or adjustments. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Frank, $38 a month is better than nothing, and I'm grateful for it. And you're absolutely right to think that way. But I also want you to understand the full picture, because planning your financial life requires you to know the truth, not just the happy version that makes for good headlines. The annual deductible for Medicare Part B is also going up to $283 in 2026, an increase of $26 from 2025. So if you need medical services early in the year before you've met that deductible, you're going to be paying more out of pocket than you did last year. These are the kinds of details that matter when you're living on a fixed income and trying to make every dollar count. Let me talk to you about SSI for a minute, because this program works a little differently and serves a different group of people. The maximum SSI payment for individuals is going to be $994 per month, and for couples, it's $1,491. These are folks who have limited income and resources, and for many of them, this payment is absolutely critical for survival. Now, here's something interesting about the timing. SSI recipients got their increased payment on December 31st of 2025 instead of January 1st, because January 1st is a federal holiday. The government can't send out payments on federal holidays, so they moved it to the last business day of the previous month. I mention this because timing matters when you're budgeting, and you need to know when to expect your money so you can plan your bills and expenses accordingly. When it comes to Social Security Disability Insurance, which we call SSDI, the average payment is jumping to around $1,630 per month, which is an increase of about $44. For folks who can't work because of a disability, this money isn't just important. It's often the only thing standing between them and complete financial disaster. And I want to emphasize something here. If you're receiving SSDI and you qualify for Medicare, you're facing the same premium increases I just talked about. So again, that $44 increase gets reduced when you factor in what you're paying for healthcare coverage. This is why I keep hammering on this point. You've got to look at the net effect, not just the gross increase. Now let's talk about our veterans, because VA disability benefits are also receiving the same 2.8%, 8% cost of living adjustment. And by law, these adjustments are tied to the Social Security COLA. The way the timing works for VA benefits is a little different though. The COLA becomes effective December 1st, but because VA pays in arrears, meaning after the month has ended, veterans see their first adjusted payment in January. For a veteran with a 100% disability rating and no dependents, you're looking at a monthly payment in the range of around $4,000, and with dependents, that number goes up significantly. These are tax-free payments, which is important to remember when you're comparing them to other sources of income. Here's what really gets me fired up about all of this and why I wanted to have this conversation with you today. Over the past 3 years, we've seen Medicare Part B premiums consistently rising faster than the Social Security cost of living adjustments. In 2026, the premium increase is 9.7%, which is more than 3 times the COLA increase of 2.8%. Do you see the problem here? The government is trying to help you keep up with inflation on one hand, but on the other hand, they're raising the cost of your health care at a rate that's 3 times faster than the benefit increase. It's like trying to bail out a boat while someone else is drilling holes in the bottom. And this isn't a one-time thing, it's been happening year after year. I want to talk to you about the real-world impact of all this, because numbers on a page don't tell the whole story. When you're living on Social Security or disability benefits or a VA pension, you're dealing with real expenses that have real consequences. Your rent or mortgage doesn't care about cost of living adjustments. Your utility company doesn't give you a discount because your benefits only went up by $56. The grocery store doesn't lower their prices because you're on a fixed income. You're out there in the real world trying to make ends meet, and every single dollar matters. So when I tell you that your net increase is really only $38 a month instead of $56, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm trying to give you the information you need to make smart decisions about your money. Let me give you some practical advice on what you need to do right now. First thing, if you haven't already, you need to create a My Social Security account online. This account lets you see your COLA notice digitally, usually starting in early December, which is up to 3 weeks earlier than waiting for it in the mail. You can verify your exact new benefit amount, see all your deductions, and make sure everything is correct. If there's an error, and trust me, errors do happen, you want to catch it early so you can get it fixed before it causes you problems down the road. Don't wait for the paper notice to show up in your mailbox and then realize there's a mistake. Be proactive about this. Second, you need to sit down and actually recalculate your monthly budget based on these new numbers. I'm talking about getting out a piece of paper or opening up a spreadsheet and writing down every single expense you have. Your housing costs, your utilities, your food, your transportation, your medications, your insurance, everything. Then look at your new income amount and make sure the two numbers work. If you're spending more than you're bringing in, you've got a problem that needs to be addressed now, not 6 months from now when you're behind on your bills. This is basic financial management, but you'd be amazed how many people skip this step and then wonder why they're struggling. Here's another thing that's critically important. If you have lower income and your Social Security benefit is small, there's something called the hold harmless provision that can protect you from seeing your net benefit actually decrease because of Medicare premium increases. What this means is that if your Social Security check is already pretty small, the government won't let the Medicare premium increase reduce what you actually receive below what you got the previous year. But this provision doesn't help everyone. It only applies if you're having the premium deducted from your Social Security check and if your benefit is low enough. If you think you might qualify for this protection, you need to understand how it works and make sure it's being applied correctly to your situation. Now, I want to clear up something that's causing a lot of confusion. You'll see people online talking about massive payment increases, numbers like $2,300 or more, and that creates unrealistic expectations. The reality is the COLA is 2.8%, and it's applied to your current benefit, not given as a flat dollar amount. That means someone with a higher benefit sees a larger dollar increase than someone with a lower benefit, even though the percentage is the same. If you see claims that sound too good to be true, they usually are. Always check the official Social Security Administration website or speak directly with Social Security to get accurate information for your situation. Now let's talk about payment dates because this trips people up every year. If you were born between the 1st and 10th, you're paid on the 2nd Wednesday. 11th through 20th, it's the 3rd Wednesday. 21st through 31st, it's the 4th Wednesday. These dates can shift for weekends or holidays, but that's the basic setup. Mark your payment dates on your calendar and plan your bills around them. Don't assume the money comes the same day every month. If you're counting on that deposit for rent or your mortgage, you need to know exactly when it's arriving. For those of you receiving VA benefits, the increase applies to all forms of VA compensation, including regular disability payments, TDIU, which is total disability individual unemployability, special monthly compensation, and dependency and indemnity compensation for survivors. And here's something really important that a lot of veterans don't understand. If you receive back pay for previous years, the COLA adjustments are applied based on the year the benefit was earned, not when you actually get paid. So if you've been fighting for a claim approval and you finally win your case, the VA's computer system automatically calculates what you should have received in each prior year using the rates that were in effect during those years. This can make a significant difference in your retroactive payment amount. I need to spend a minute talking about inflation and whether this cost of living adjustment actually keeps up with your real expenses. The government uses something called the Consumer Price Index to measure inflation, but that index doesn't always reflect what real people are experiencing in their daily lives. For example, if you're spending a large portion of your income on healthcare or prescription medications and those costs are going up faster than the general inflation rate, then this 2.8% increase isn't going to be enough to cover your actual cost increases. The same thing applies if you live in an area where housing costs or food prices have spiked more than the national average. The COLA is based on a broad national measure, but your personal inflation rate might be higher or lower depending on your specific circumstances and where you live. Here's what you need to understand about the long-term picture. These annual adjustments are meant to help you keep up with rising costs, not to make you wealthier or dramatically improve your finances. They're designed to keep you from falling behind. But with Medicare costs taking such a big bite out of each increase, a lot of people are still falling behind anyway. That's why Social Security should not be your only source of retirement income. If you're still working and able to save more, do it. If delaying Social Security could increase your benefit, that may make sense for you. And if you can contribute to an IRA, a 401k, or another retirement account, take advantage of it. Let me give you some clear action steps. First, verify your new payment amount as soon as your COLA notice is available. Don't just assume it's correct. Second, review all your automatic deductions like Medicare premiums, tax withholding, and anything else coming out of your benefit. Third, recalculate your monthly budget using your new numbers and look for any gaps. Fourth, if money is tight, explore assistance programs for prescriptions, energy costs, food, or other needs you have to apply to get help. And finally, if you receive VA benefits and believe your disability rating should be higher, consider filing for an increase because the difference in monthly compensation can be significant. I also want you to think about the Medicare Part B deductible increase because it affects when you'll start seeing your insurance coverage kick in. At $283 for 2026, you'll need to spend that much out of pocket on covered services before Medicare starts paying its share. If you have a Medicare supplement plan or a Medicare Advantage plan, check to see if it covers this deductible. Some do, some don't. And if you're comparing plans during open enrollment, this is one of the factors you should consider. A plan with a slightly higher premium that covers your deductible might actually save you money in the long run if you use healthcare services regularly. For those of you who are married and both receiving benefits, you need to look at your household income as a whole. If you're both getting Social Security, or if one of you gets Social Security and the other gets VA benefits or SSDI, add up all your income sources and all your deductions to see your complete financial picture. Sometimes couples don't realize they might qualify for additional assistance programs because they're looking at their benefits individually instead of as a household. Other times, they don't realize that combined income might push them into a higher Medicare premium bracket if their income exceeds certain thresholds. Speaking of Medicare premium brackets, this is something that catches people off guard. If your modified adjusted gross income is above certain levels and they look at tax returns from 2 years ago, you'll pay higher Medicare premiums through income-related monthly adjustment amounts. For 2026, they're using your 2024 tax return. So if you had a one-time income spike back then, like selling a house or taking a large retirement distribution, you could be paying higher premiums now even if your income has dropped. There is an appeals process if your income has gone down or you've had a life-changing event, but you have to know about it and request a reconsideration. Now, let's talk about your emergency fund and financial security. If you're living on these benefits and don't have savings set aside, one car repair, one home repair, or one medical issue can turn into a financial crisis. That's just the reality. With your net increase being fairly small after Medicare and other costs, you won't be saving a lot. But even $10 or $20 a month can add up over time and give you a small cushion when unexpected expenses show up. Here's something important to understand about the timing. Social Security beneficiaries will see their increased payments starting in January 2026, while SSI recipients already got theirs at the end of December 2025. If you receive both Social Security and SSI, don't get confused if one payment changes in December and the other in January. They're on different schedules, and that's normal. You're not missing money. For veterans who also receive Social Security, you'll get COLA increases on both your VA disability compensation and your Social Security benefits. These are separate programs with separate calculations. Even though they're using the same 2.8% figure, your VA payment is tax-free, which is a big advantage. While your Social Security may be partially taxable depending on your total income, so keep that in mind for tax planning. Now, for those still working while receiving benefits, earnings limits matter if you're under full retirement age. If you earn too much, some benefits can be withheld. These limits are adjusted each year. Once you reach full retirement age, you can earn as much as you want without any reduction. This can get complicated, so if this applies to you, it's smart to talk directly with Social Security. Let me wrap this up with the bottom line. First, get informed about your exact situation using official sources like socialsecurity.gov, va.gov, and medicare.gov. Second, do the math on your finances. Figure out your new income and expenses. Third, take action if you see problems, whether that means cutting costs, finding extra income, or using assistance programs. Finally, plan ahead, because these annual increases will likely continue to be partly offset by rising healthcare costs. The 2.8% cost of living adjustment is real and it will help, but it's not a magic fix. You need to understand how it affects you personally so you can plan smart and make better decisions.